comments, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of management, KM Media, or the Brushwood Media Network. Welcome to Unscripted Politics, where headlines get unpacked and spin gets shredded, and real talk takes center stage. Hosted by Kevin McDonald and Dr. David D. Shine. This isn't your typical political commentary. We're diving into the story shaping our world, from power plays and policy shifts to the cultural chaos no one wants to explain. But we will. No scripts. No fillers, no corporate gloss, just sharp insights, straight up truth, and a few shots of sarcasm along the way. If you're tired of the noise and ready for bold, unapologetic conversation that cuts through the BS, well, welcome home. This is Unscripted Politics. Well, young man, I screwed up and played the wrong thing, so now we're going to play the right thing, and we're already recording, so I just edit that out. So
we'll just keep going. It's all fine.
So here we go. Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of, why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. Hey, apparently I'm a little technically challenged today, but that's a story for another time. We've got a great show for you today, and we've got an author and a program facilitator who has spoken to, as few as 4 people and as many as 4,000 people. And David Allen Brown is with us, and I'm looking forward to talking to him about all the things he does, including a program that he has developed, and we're going to talk about all that. David Allen Brown, welcome to the show. I can actually say, this is kind of unusual, because I can actually say your name, and I'm pretty confident that I got it right even.
You even got it right, for sure, Kevin. Yeah. What a powerful intro that is. I'm so excited to be a part of that goal for your listeners and for the day.
Well, and you know, what we like to talk about a lot, and this is right up your alley, to use a bowling metaphor. It's a great thing for you because you teach people how to live their best life and to get rid of all the guck and all the trauma and all the things that they had that don't serve them well, and replace it with things that serve them better so that they can live the life that they were always intended to live. Am I close?
That's very close. And I can't always dive into all the muck, but I can certainly refer to you to someone who can help. In the meantime, yes, we want to break through the stuff that isn't helping and realize how amazing and how powerful we are, and what we have as tools to help us thrive and do our part in the world.
In all the work that you've done, why are there so many people that is just a foreign concept to?
Okay. Well, there's no one answer, of course. So,
of course not.
The blanket answer, of course, is that we get so distracted with it. We have created around ourselves or have been put into, through circumstance, systems and a way of living that is sometimes extraordinarily more difficult than we would like it to be, that requires so much of our attention and energy for survival. And that perhaps through trauma or inference, we've been told that we aren't great, or that there isn't possibility, or that we should trust outside sources more than ourselves, or have been burned or frustrated by trying to reach a higher place or integrate the energy and the possibility of inspiration, but we just haven't seen the result. And so after a while in everyone's life, including my own, we get to a place where we just don't believe anymore. And that's a tough place to be.
It's a not fun place to be because, in all of our life, and, stay in your lane. Don't overreach. You can't do that. Why don't you just get a job and
Who do
just,
you think you are?
that's a great one because we get that and we get that especially from people who say, I love you
Right.
and I don't want you to be disappointed. So just stay in your lane. And who do you think you are? You can't do that.
Right.
And because they're not us, we listen to them like they know better than us. But nobody knows us better than we know ourselves. At least that's how it's supposed to be anyway.
Sure. And wouldn't it be great if intuitively, as teachers, as those people that we know are listening to us, what we were instilling in them was a confidence and the tools to discover their internal power. And, that's a ways down the evolution, perhaps, but we can accept that as we seek these things for ourselves, heal for ourselves, we become the teachers of those around us. That's how this grows. That's how the world around us changes.
And there's a whole process involved with going from where you've been told you are to where you believe that you are now capable of being and that you were born great. And this is the adventure of a lifetime. Don't waste it.
Right, for sure. And it's an interesting journey beyond the platitudes and the posters and the what you saw on the wall in the classroom or read on a billboard coming down the street, and actually putting it into your life, actually practicing it. I think that's maybe to your first question, part of where we get hung up. Why isn't this easier? Why why doesn't this happen instantly? What's the simplest way to get through this? Can't you just fix me? Do the work on my behalf. Well, there aren't a lot of shortcuts. There are a few, and there are leaps forward that we take sometimes, but it's a process. It takes time. It takes practice.
Years ago, I saw a movie called The Secret. Are you familiar with that one?
Yes, I am.
And I actually talked to James Arthur Ray, who was in that. And he said, it was a nice idea,
Yeah.
but it was way too simplistic of just telling you, create a vision board and put a boat on there and a big house and all those things are going to instantly manifest.
Yeah.
They forgot to mention that you got to work at it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so it's interesting. I mean, you bring that up, and that's a specific example that I provided, and it comes right out of what I was saying. What's the shortcut? What's the easy way? And rather than that sort of straight line mentality that The Secret gave us, you start here and you vision and you'll eventually get there. I've actually created something that's much more of a circle. You start here with a vision, you discern, you trust, you try little things, you connect with your source and your emotions to see how that feels. You commit to it, you do the hard work, you celebrate your victories, which may be back at the top, not exactly where you thought you were going to go, but it's the beginning of another cycle that includes all of those things, including the vision, the discernment, the trust, the how am I feeling, the do the work, and then the celebrate again. So it's an ongoing thing. And that's really the point of life, isn't it? If you're constantly trying to get to somewhere and then you're there and you realize you still got more to go, well, that's sometimes what makes us feel lost too.
Yeah, because we're never where we are going to end up. And it's always a constant struggle with ourselves to get to where, because, failure is something that people are, oh, no, you don't want to do that. You're just going to fail and it's going to be terrible. But failure is a part of life. That's how you learn, isn't it?
Of course it is. And failure based on what? You made the rules. You decided what it was going to be. When you take that from within instead of externally, when your commitment is to, am I going to grow? When your commitment is to, am I going to prosper? Am I going to integrate? Am I going to be healthier? Am I going to move down the chain? Am I going to become more self-aware? Well, then all of these things are not anyone else's scale. It's yours. And so you get to say, participation points count, learning counts. By my reckoning, I've done amazing things. And so let's keep going.
That's a beautiful sentiment, and that's exactly right, because we don't always know when we go on and when I was 42, I went on a search to find out, why am I really here and what do I really want to do, and I had no idea. And then one day a friend came to me and he said, because we were doing some work on meditation and different things, and he said, we should do a television show. I hadn't even considered it, had no idea. So I looked into it. We couldn't do TV. Okay. And then I thought, well, we can't do TV. Could we do radio? And so I looked into that, and we could. So, and that never even crossed my mind. I was a district sales manager. I can't do that. I've got a house. I've got a wife. I've got kids. I got responsibilities.
Right.
And there were people in my, and I'm sure you'll appreciate this, David. There are people in my world that were saying, can you imagine what he's doing? He quit his job and now he's going to be a broadcaster and he's going to have his own company. It's destined to fail. And all these people were saying that, but I kept saying yes. And because I kept saying yes and never quit, I'm sitting here talking to David Allen Brown.
That's right. How many years later?
23 years later.
Still got a house?
No.
Still have a place to live?
I have a place to live. The wife is long gone, thank God. And I like to say I was married for 24 years. It was the best 6 months of my life. And so, but all these things transpired, and I kept on doing more and saying yes and never quitting. And then things just started to show up, and that allowed me to do more and more and more. It's a remarkable process if you let it play out, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I'm going to hazard a guess here that part of the saying yes, part of the reason you said yes was because you were acknowledging that within you, there was probably both an inspiration that maybe you weren't even sure where it was coming from, except it just, and that was affirmed by a feeling. I said, but it just feels like the right thing to do. I like being here. I like the way I feel when I'm doing it. I like the energy I'm receiving from others when I do it. I appreciate that this of course, then came, doors started to open and opportunities started to materialize. But see that circle I was just drawing? There is a point there where you're saying yes and you're discerning, well, how is the universe responding? And not just the whole universe, but then how am I feeling about that? I think people get stuck because they get to that point and they either don't acknowledge that it feels good and it makes them brave, and in spite of the responsibilities, they keep saying yes, or because they don't pause or think that that's an important step, where they sit in a cruddy job or in a stuck place and they don't bother to check in with how they feel or what should be inspiring them. They're just stuck in the doing because I have responsibilities. And so we just do. And we hope it ends up in a boat, or we hope it ends up in a nicer house, or we hope it ends up somewhere where the external world has said we've succeeded, but we forgot to integrate our feelings and our inspiration into that. And so it's a life lived. But is it the intro to this show, life lived? Is it your greatest life lived?
It's not. And I just came up with a thing, because you do, and you do, and you do, and then you end up with a bunch of doo-doo.
You just came up with that? That's really good.
all by myself, but you made me think of that. So
we can share it.
Because it is so true. We spend our lives I need to take a break, and when we come back from this break, I'm going to share with you and our listeners why I do this and why I will never quit, because of my father and his story, which was actually turned out to be rather sad. But we need to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. We're talking with David Allen Brown. Go to his website, which oddly enough is davidallenbrown.com, and you can learn all about it. And we're going to talk about convergence a little bit later. I'm really excited to talk about this program that he's got that you can take part of. We'll be right back.
You became a real estate agent for freedom, success, and real momentum. So why are you still stuck waiting for closings to save you? I'm Ophir Adar, founder of Real Momentum, and I help agents like you become seven-figure earners. My first client that I coached, brand new agent, made $250,000 back in 2006. What's the secret? You feed your white wolf. That's the part of you that's bold and unstoppable and a closer and able to build rapport quickly. So click Get Listings at Real Momentum and let's unleash your real estate potential.
And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald, and we're talking with David Allen Brown. Go to his website, davidallenbrown.com, and find out all about him. The story I'm about to tell, I think it's kind of universal. It happens to a lot of folks. My dad was an executive with Nordstrom for 30 years. He was Mr. McDonald. He walked around in different departments, and people were scurrying around trying to make sure the displays were right and there was no dust and stuff, because he was the boss and all that. Well, he did that for 30 years, and then one day he made the mistake of saying to his boss, he worked for Nordstrom, saying to one of the Nordstroms, maybe I'll think about retiring at one point here in the next little bit. And the next day there was a package, and it was his package sitting on his desk, and it was his retirement package. And they were saying, it's time for you to go. So he sensed that it was obviously time for him to go. His first name was Jack, and he retired. He was no longer Mr. McDonald. Now he was just Jack. And Jack didn't have any idea who he was. Not on a fundamental level. He knew who he was as a manager, but not as a human being. And so he played golf for a little bit until he broke his hip, and then he sat on the couch because he had no passion. He had no idea what he could do to be of service to other people or anything like that. And he ended up sitting on the couch till the day he died. I saw him do that, and I refused to allow myself to do that, because there's so much more to it than playing golf or doing, you know what I mean? And I think we know, all of us know somebody like that.
Sure. Absolutely. And I think that, let's be clear. Golf is, well, I don't know if it's fun, but I've played golf, and we do these human things. We're not trying to discount that we go through our lives with things to do. And that includes jobs and what our vocation is and how we enjoy ourselves and how we play. Is there, though, and I think this is maybe where you're going with this, Kevin, is there, though, a way to find meaning and infuse it in almost everything that we do, so that when you do make life transitions, whether they're handed to you in a package on your desk, or whether they come out of the blue from the universe, or you're making a strong decision, we make turns. Life is chapters. And no matter what we're doing in any of those instances, perhaps there's a way to infuse meaning into what we're doing, so that when those transitions come, difficult, frustrating, wonderful, amazing, there's still a thread that we carry with us. And that is that meaning that you're talking about.
You are inspiring, because you're inspiring me. That I remember something way back when I was like, I had a particular job, or I had a particular girlfriend or whatever, and that situation would end. I treated it like it was a chapter in a book, and that chapter was closing, which opened up a new chapter for me to go to. And I thunk of that years ago all by myself. But you just brought that to my attention again. And that's kind of how I looked at it. And that's really helpful, isn't it?
It's a great metaphor. And in fact, I'm a writer. I teach writing classes sometimes, as a matter of fact. And I always talk, in addition to structure, about theme, about having a unifying and understanding purpose that oftentimes you don't even state out loud. It would be awkward if your character suddenly stopped the action and told the theme. But it's the thing that binds everything together. That allows you to make choices as a writer or as the author of your own life. Let's carry this metaphor as far as we can, to where we get to, make the decisions about, well, why would I include that? Why would I accept that? How would I perceive that when it happened? And it all goes to this thread that goes through life. And some folks are handed it. Some folks are inspired at some point in their life with that thing from a coach or a friend or a mentor or a guru or a slogan or phrase or wherever it comes from. But when we find it, it plucks the string. We feel, like I was saying before, when we say yes to things and we're energized, we're enthusiastic about it. We wake up earlier before the alarm because we have this thread of knowing going through our lives. It really is transformative. And what we said all the way back to the start, not a lot of people have a chance to just sit down at any point in their lives and think, discern, discover, well, what is my thread? What is my intention here? What do I want, and what does the universe need from me?
Won't that, if you ask that question like I did, why am I here? And what is my purpose? Show me. Universe, show me what I'm supposed. I don't get it. I don't know. Won't the universe conspire with you? Because in my world, it's like, I've got guides on the other side. I know that I do, and I've got angels and stuff. And when I said yes, why am I here? Show me what I'm to do. It's almost like I was taking the shackles off of them, because now they were like, it's about dang time that he said that. Gosh, we've been trying to teach him that for years, and okay, now we can get to work. Is that kind of even close?
I think it's very, very real. And I think part of it is there are some human capacities, some human understandings we need to bring to the table. And one of them is exactly what you said, a willingness. I heard this great phrase taught the other day, I'm available, which is saying to the universe, I am available for your use. It is a faith and a trust that there is a plan. I may not know it all. I may never know it all. And I am available to put that plan forth. I think that faith and trust comes from another important human understanding, which is that there are shared core values amongst the living, all living beings. And that part of it is to ascertain and to find the harmony that exists when we align ourselves with those core human values. And let's just boil it down to one, which is the capacity to love, and in all of the ways that we can. Empathy, forgiveness. I mean, there's myriad. Find your own faith, find your own path, define higher power for yourself. In all my programs, always self-defined by the participant. Understand that there is an energy, there is a calling, and there is a fundamental purpose to our human existence. I'm offering this. This is my opinion. And it is to be someone who is compassionate, empathetic, forgiving, gracious, and loving throughout all you're doing. So what if you went from being in the office every day and then went to playing golf every day, but you carried with it in both of those capacities to whomever I come in contact with, all living things I come in contact with, I'm going to exude compassion, empathy, forgiveness, grace, and unconditional loving. Well, guess what? The meaning of your life would sustain between either of those circumstances. That's
Yes.
what we're getting to.
Well said, young man. You should be a speaker and a facilitator and
Yeah, people should invite me to come and speak to grand audiences. Visit my website.
which is davidallenbrown.com. And but it's remarkable when you see, because I firmly believe, and years ago, I was told by this particular friend who said we should start a television show. And he said, I want you to go to a metaphysical bookstore. And there was one down the street from us. And he said, I want you to buy the first book that speaks to you. I highly recommend everybody do this.
Yeah.
And if it's a Barnes and Noble and you go to the self-help spirituality section, whatever it is. And so I picked up the book called Journey of Souls by Dr. Michael Newton. And because it spoke to me, quite literally. It said, you need to buy me because I've got information for you. And what I learned in that book, because he takes people into deep hypnosis, and then they talk about past lives, and they also talk about life between lives. What we do when we're on the other side, why we go there, what is our purpose? And our purpose to come here is to activate the purpose that we created when we were over there for ourselves. Nobody said, it's God's will and this is what you're going to do. It's we did this. So I believe I signed a contract to do exactly what I'm doing while I was on the other side before I was even born. Because I'm a little stubborn, it took a while for it to come to fruition, but it is here now, and it is what I'm meant to do, which is why I started work at 4:00 this morning. It's now 2:00. I've got another show to do after I do this one, and I am energized by every interaction, every show. I get to interview David Allen Brown, and it is the coolest thing on the planet at this particular moment in time. Does that make any sense to you, or do I need to be on medication?
No, I think you're absolutely there. And that sort of enthusiasm and energy, I think that where it comes from for me, there are so many explanations to what that could be. And I do absolutely concur with the one that you said. And I went through a phase, similar thing. Let's find all the books that, that call to me, and let me read them and discover them, and let me think about this as much as possible, and let me just strive to be in that higher place as much as I possibly can. Well, guess what? I found that I could be stuck there too. I found that as kind of as you're saying, it took a while for your for full fruition of what it is that you felt like when you were in alignment. Well, this sense that, my place was to study and to learn and to have the theories of all of this and understand it all and live in that place. But you know what? That didn't align for me. I mean, it may align for one of your listeners, it may be precisely. And that's where, and how do you know you're aligned? You just said it, Kevin, because that enthusiasm buzzes up, that energy buzzes up, the feelings that we gain from it come rising up to the surface. Like we have a body to provide us the guidance to know if what we're doing is in alignment with our inspiration. And I mean, that's it in a nutshell.
And at the end of the day, that really is all there is. Sure. Is your inspiration and your understanding of really what that is. And musicians have it, poets have it, authors have it, speakers have it. You have an innate intuition as to what to say next and how to be impactful to your fellow human beings. That's one of the highest gifts you can have, don't you think?
Well, and I think that I'm going to try to pull the judgment aside. I mean, I appreciate the compliment. And I do know that when, as a teacher, that is a high calling. And I'm going to put all of those things into that category. And what you're talking about, and there are a couple of books. There's one called The Zone, which has to do some with physical fitness and health, but it also has a great deal to do with when you're aligned, there is a there's an understanding, an enthusiasm, a peace, a connection, an inspiration. And it can be the skilled surgeon, it can be the master listener, it can be the great caretaker, it can be it can be, I had a friend who was so frustrated in their early part of their life because they were just stuck as a bartender, and they were waiting for school to get done, and they just felt like this, that, and the other. And boy, someday they were going to really do something, this, that. And I was like, one, you could just be the best damn bartender in the whole world. That might feel really good. And two, you could bring whatever your thread is to this circumstance, which you may find yourself in, and discover if maybe that's where meaning is in that moment and in that opportunity, because people are coming to us all of the time, whether they're literally sitting at your establishment and you have the opportunity to serve and interact with them and understand them, whether you're brushing against on the sidewalk or seeing them through a windshield at the stop sign. No matter where we are, that call is the divinity. The really great gift is recognizing that you have the ability to be inspired in any moment and to follow through on that inspiration.
And we need to take our halftime break, but when we come back, I first of all, I want to talk about your program and what you're doing with it, because I think it can be highly beneficial for folks. But I also want to get your opinion on something that I just thought of again. This is a very inspirational episode for me. So we will be right back. Stay with us.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back. We're talking with David Allen Brown. Go to davidallenbrown.com and you'll find out all about him. I wanted to ask you real quick, and that is, years ago, I got out of high school. I didn't go to college, even though I had some scholarship offers for football and stuff, but I really had no desire to do that. And so I became a lady shoe salesman. Hated that. Then I became a roofer. Hated that worse. Then I became a night stalker at Fred Meyer. Not a real night stalker. I was loading shelves at Graveyard at Fred Meyer. I didn't like that much either. It wasn't until I discovered the restaurant business and being of service to people and to taking care of them. And that energized me to a point where I could do a shift. And if I did it well, I would be so proud of myself at the end of the shift because I'd done it well and I'd had a positive impact on people. Isn't that what we're all looking for?
Which part? The feeling good at the end of your work, or the making a positive impact on people?
The feeling good, that feeling that you have inside that you know you're following what you need to be doing or what you could be doing if you were really, and that led me from being a host and a busboy to being a waiter and a cook and an assistant manager and an opening team member and ended up as a national sales manager in the food service business because that was all within my wheelhouse and that made me feel right.
Absolutely. Yeah. We fundamentally, as human beings, we want to be seen. We want to be respected, and we want to know that we're making a difference somehow. And so in whatever arena that happens, and I had a similar experience to you when I found food service. But one of my college jobs was delivering pizzas, and it was fine, and I got tips, but I was aware that I had an innate ability to adjust my demeanor just by how the door got opened. Some people wanted to chat, some people were having a party, other people were cracking the door, whatever. Like, I could adjust to that. And I thought, well, this is odd that I'm utilizing that for 30 seconds at a time. How about I go into waiting tables, because clearly I have an ability to interact and read people, and so let's see how it works in a longer form, the 45-minute meal. And of course it was great, and not just because the tips were better, but because, well, yeah, I was answering the call to, right, I'm supposed to interact with people, and it wasn't I'm supposed to impose myself on people. What I discovered in that job was I'm supposed to empathize with people and meet them where they are, and try to help them, and try to help provide for them in what way they need right now. And so that guided some of my course. And yes, that's what we're looking for. We want to feel like we're making a difference, and we're answering the call, which was the name of my second book, by the way. We want to feel as if we have meaning. And this isn't just an existential issue. It's something that we're finding, especially with younger generations entering the workforce right now. They're just clearly stating in survey after survey that the most important factor to job satisfaction is feeling as if they're making a difference in the world somehow. There is an upswell of compassion that is really, really trying to break through, and really, really trying to be seen in the midst of this counterforce, which seems to be about external benefit and external success. And so I think it's very real and very palatable where we are right now. And of course, the big challenge is, okay, well, how do I know?
Well, because
Right. I was recording the presentations that are part of Convergence, and there were a couple points where I finally just said, like, you'll just know, like, it feels, step 1 through 3 is having a consciousness and being able to evaluate it, having an awareness that your body is there to provide you with this feedback. But describing what that feedback will actually be, it's tricky. Describe the smell of a rose. Like, it is what it is. And that's, it's hard to have so much of my work come down to, just trust me, you'll know.
Let's talk about Convergence, because that's a new program that you've put together. And if you go to davidalladbrown.com, you can click on that. There's a video to watch, and you can learn all about Convergence and what it's all about. How did you come up with it? Was it divinely inspired, shall we say?
Divinely inspired and hammered home through experience, I think, is the.
But your experience is also divinely inspired.
Well, sure, and that's the theme of today, is understanding that these things work together. We've already been talking about Convergence because I've been working it into the conversation, because it's part of what I just do when I live day to day. How I came up with this was essentially in the later part of my life, wanting to pull myself out of was likely a clinical depression, but also looked like a lot of people who weren't depressed, which is sort of just that sort of standard, externally focused, wondering if I've succeeded according to a lot of outward terms, not feeling great about myself, and wanting to refine purpose and inspiration, but realizing that I had, over the course of my life, in different chapters, been very stuck in specific ways. Doing. We talked about that one. Feeling, which is sometimes overwhelmed. Like, oh my gosh, I can't break free of my sadness or my anger or my grief. And sometimes for me, what depression was not too much emotion or just sadness, was numbness. Like an ignorance that there was emotion there, and a part of my body that was desperately trying to express to me what it is that it needed or wanted. And then this there were times when I was stuck in this higher level, this inspiration, or this really a piousness, with a sense of, well, if I was praying right, then I would get what I received. Or if I read The Secret more closely, then I would have manifested that Porsche by now. But apparently I'm doing it wrong, so I'll just keep trying. And so long story short is that as I began to emerge from this dark place, I was reminded of something I had done very naturally as a child and as a young man, and which was to ask the question. People do this all day. If you ask yourself, hey, what do you want for lunch? Like, to yourself, there's a committee in there, by the way. And there's one of those voices say, what are we going to have for lunch? Another voice says, how about pizza? Oh, okay. So there's a committee in there. That's the first recognition. There's more than one aspect to our human experience. And this wasn't, then I bought into, well, only crazy people talk to themselves, and oh my God. And then I was like, well, I'm still going to do it. And then I heard about, Freud's id, ego, and superego, and then Jungian philosophy. And like, this isn't, this all became incorporated over a lot of time. There's more than one side to the human experience. As I was coming out. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say, the number of voices in your head, like, what are you going to have for lunch? I think I'll have a hamburger. That sounds good. No, that's got too many calories. Okay, then maybe I'll have half a hamburger. No, you don't want to do that, because then you'll eat the whole thing, and then you'll be mad that you ate the whole thing. How about a salad? I don't want a salad, but maybe I should have a salad. Sure. But you know what I mean? I
do. And the amazing thing is that this is the easiest place to start. I think people see my program, and it is big. There's a lot to it, but I'll work you through it, and we'll get you a discount and all those different things. It doesn't matter. The point is that the basic concept of understanding that there's a committee in there is not that far-fetched. People talk through things all of the time and work through things. What I wanted to discover, though, for myself was, first of all, how does that not become a chorus, or an angry chorus that was sort of battling all of the time? What were really the fundamentals? And I've alluded to them already in our conversation. Just 3 fundamentals. And I can tell the stories, and you'll hear them in the program, of how this was, what the revelation of this was. There were specific incidences in my life. But the understanding that, like I say, there's this emotional side, this instinctual, who we are as the human animal, the needs and wants of that, but not just what it's receiving, but what it provides, what it gives. What are the gifts of my emotions? What are they leading me to? Remember we talked about that circle when we talked about discernment? We talked about you and how you felt when you said yes to things throughout your life. That's happening in a very instinctual way for us, and we want to listen to that. So that's great. And when that side is neglected, we're missing out on all of the gifts that it can provide for us as in confidence and in walking through in life. When it's too big, then we're overwhelmed by that. And we're like, oh, we're just stuck in emotion. It needs attention. It needs soothing. It needs comfort. Well, so often that comfort comes from another side of our being, which is that doing, that active, that being part of being, the verb part. For a long time, I thought this was the intellectual side, and I realized actually it's not. It's the action side. It's the side that says, what would make us feel better? What do we need in order to feel comfortable? What are we seeking in order to make a difference in the life? What actions should we try so that we can evaluate it? This bundles down to some of the most fundamental understanding as far as mental health is concerned right now, which is you can't think your way out of sadness. You can't think your way out of anxiety. We have to take action. We have to change what we're doing. We have to interrupt our thinking. And that's the action and doing side. Plus, it helps us fulfill our mission that we talked about earlier, which is making a difference in the world. I got really stuck in that corner. It got super tiny because I just lived inside of my little kingdom in my house for 18 years as a stay-at-home dad. This is all I need to focus on. And granted, important work. I mean, I'm not saying. But this is all I'm going to do. This is where I'm just going to be. I'm just going to work in this one spot, do this one thing, affect these 3 people, the whole thing. And for some folks, that's perfect alignment. For me, it clearly was not. But I ignored it for a long, long time. And how did I bloom out of that? Who was calling me? Well, the third part of our human experience, which is that we are part of a vast network of extraordinarily wonderful energy. The resources of the entire universe are at our disposal if we will invite them in, because there is inspiration and divinity around us all of the time. And so when we have the ability, and this is what convergence teaches, to recognize those three things within ourselves, and then to have, I literally call it a convergent conversation. Okay, how are we feeling about this? What do we need to do in order to respond to that? How will we know if that's helping? What inspires us to think of that new thing, to go creative? How can that divine unconditional love soothe the emotional and maybe the frightened or anxious side of us? Wow, how can these things work together instead of your simple example, cheeseburger or salad? It's a fight. Okay, wait a minute. What does the body need right now? Okay, what is we're being inspired to do? Is this a reward somehow? Do we understand how it's fitting into a scheme? Are we going to throw a little bit of maybe social awareness into there? Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, we went to that. We've been wanting to try that one independent bakery. Independent. Oh, that sounds like supporting an individual person. Yeah, and I hear they have healthy food. Oh, here's a conversation where we're coming together to inspire, to find the answer, as opposed to overcoming the battle to just get something done. Maybe that sounds like the difference between living and thriving.
Exactly. And I was just thinking, you've got me going, and thank you for that.
Let's bring it.
But remember when you were a little kid and you wanted to do something, you wanted a toy, you wanted to go somewhere, you wanted to go outside and play, and somebody else said, no, you can't. Remember how you felt? I always felt defeated and crappy, and I want to go do it, and you're not letting me do. And so I'd followed by crying and a tantrum. You know what we do when we get older? Tell me if this is right. We tell ourselves, this is what I want to do. And then another voice, another part of us says, no, you can't do that. And if that voice wins, that no, you can't do that, then we're defeated. And then we're less than. And then we can't be who we really are and who we choose to be. Am I close?
You're very close, because we bring those patterns from our past. And this program does not dive into your past or your trauma. That's what I said before. I can refer you to the therapist if these blocks are in place for you. And we bring these patterns, however they came to us, these senses of denial, the belief in lack, the knowledge that injustice sometimes wins out. And so when we impose that on ourselves, when a past pattern comes in, then we do feel that conflict. We do feel that frustration. And then rather than listening to our emotions and thinking, this, let's say it's an injustice, because one of my great injustices is, I was a smart aleck kid that always said, well, why? Well, why? All right. But I found that to be an extraordinarily empowering question when I ask it to myself. Well, why can't I have that? Let's ask a higher power. What is it that seems to be my block to this right now? Let's ask the doing side of me. Is it because I don't want to go out to the car right now, or is it because there's no gas in the car? Why? And so we can engage in that in a way that removes the injustice, that removes the sense of pattern or defeatism or external implication. We may still reach the same no. No, you cannot do hard drugs every day, 3 times a day for the rest of your life. Okay. And if we've come to a discussion about that in which it's because we know that it impedes us from from meeting our goals as a human being, because we know that it damages the very vessel in which we have been entrusted in order to be a loving being walking in the world, because we know it distracts us from going out and accomplishing our purpose. Well, wow. Now it isn't the injustice, no angry person who said you're denied that. Now it's the empowered, understanding self that says, right, I want something different. And so that's the choice I'm going to make. Now, I'm not trying to downplay addiction here. Please don't read that into it. I just threw that out as an example of we make decisions and it's not always yes. The goal of go ahead.
I was just going to say, and some of it's because we want to numb out everything because it's too damn painful unless you address it and to go on. Yeah. We're talking with David Alan Brown. Go to his website, davidallenbrown.com. You're a remarkable young man. I have to play this here, and I want your opinion on the other side.
Okay.
And we'll be right back. The strength of staying kind from your friends at Positive Talk Radio. Kindness is not weakness. It takes real strength to stay kind in a world that often rewards anger, ego, and control. Being kind means choosing to act from your values, not your wounds. It means showing grace even when no one's watching. But kindness doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of your time, your energy, or your peace. You can be kind and still say no. You have a soft heart with firm boundaries. The strongest people I know are the ones who choose compassion without losing themselves. They've been hurt. They've been tested. And still, they choose to love and lead and to lift others anyway. Kindness is not about pleasing everybody. It's about honoring who you are and how you treat others, even when it's hard. So stay kind, stay human, and stay strong. And always remember this, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. And welcome back to Positive Talk. David, I gotta ask you, what'd you think?
Oh, I mean, I love it so much. And I love it because it boils it down to just the basics. And there's two fundamental basics in there. One is kindness is action, and that's important. It's not passive. But two, the one, and this ties into what we talked about just before the break. I'm sorry, everybody. Here's the news on all of this. And really, you've spent this time with us, and you're going to choose what to do next. But it does take effort. It does take time. It does take intention. It does take practice. It's not always easy. And so in the middle of that beautiful package is a lovely phrase, which is based on your values. And you know what? You're going to have to take some time to actually articulate that for yourself. What are your values? And when you know them, when you've done the work, have me in for a workshop. We'll take care of it. Once you've had those, then will you tattoo them on your arm or wear a red thread around you or put them on the wall? How will you make certain that you're living from that place? That's the wonderful reminder of that beautiful piece right there, which is, yes. I mean, who are you going to walk up to that's going to say, well, I don't care about kindness? Everybody, it's a core value. We started at the beginning of the show saying we believe there are shared core values. Kindness is one. So why doesn't everyone do it? Because you haven't taken the deep breath and gone through the sometimes very easy, but sometimes more difficult process of learning about what your core values are and learning how you're going to integrate them into your life. You got to do the work. Sorry.
And one of the hardest things, and I admit I'm still working on it, is in traffic, being kind and recognizing that they may be in a hurry because they have an emergency someplace and that you have no earthly idea what's going on with them. And rather than to just try and catch up to them so you can look at who they are and stuff, just let it go.
Yeah.
Let it be. I got rear-ended the other day and he did a hit and run. Oh. And I was fine and the car was fine and stuff, but I had a choice. I could try and chase him down and get his license plate number and then call the police and make a big deal out of it, or I could go home. I chose to go home because that's the best way to serve myself.
Absolutely. And I'm going to go one step further and invite people to just consider this as a philosophy or just a brain tease for once we're off the air. You said the phrase, you have no earthly idea what's going on in that person's life, whatever story you want to tell. Here's the next step on that. Whatever story you tell is what happened. Think about it. You say, oh, I bet they were rushing a child. I bet their kid stepped on a nail and there's tetanus setting in and they had to get to the emergency room as soon as possible. If you tell that story, well, what happened to the next person? Well, I got rear-ended and they ran off, but it's because there was a kid in that car who stepped on a nail and tetanus was setting in and they had to get to the hospital. That as far as the universe is concerned and that other person, then that's exactly what happened. And frankly,
That's right.
it doesn't matter. So the choice that you're talking about is literally the creation of your own reality. And you can choose, okay, so that's what happened. And this is how I'm responding to it in this minute, because I can't change what happened. Obviously, what happened already happened in any one of the parallel universe stories we want to tell about it. So in this moment, I'm going to make a choice to do this next thing. And
That's brilliant.
And this next.
Because that gives you a measure, that gives you total control over what's going on in your own life.
Think about the power of that, Kevin. Total control of what's happening in your own life. Wow.
That is huge. That's a big deal.
We may need another hour.
I got to tell you, you're gonna have to come back. David Allen Brown has been our guest, and you go to his website. And Convergence is a great program, and it can help you far beyond the program itself. It can help you make these decisions for yourself long term, and to feel really good about that and about life and about things. And it won't only affect you, it will affect your family and your coworkers and other people. And people honestly will look at you and go, you're different than you used to be. And isn't that a cool way to be when somebody actually says something like that?
Yeah, I've seen growth in you. I'm so glad that I'm so glad the way you're showing up for me. These are wonderful things to hear. And the program does lead us directly to that my belief that our responsibility is to be the loving presence wherever we go. And so how does that impact our relationships, and how does convergence come into that to be able to make confident, loving decisions about our relationships? So I want to just harken back to that package. So self-respectful, the things that you're saying there, and that's where we get to, and that's what we want to have happen. And I want to let everybody know that not only can you find out about my program at my website, but you can reach out to me directly. And if there's something about it that's intimidating or you're not sure about, know that you also join a community when you buy into the program, that we meet every once in a while. We talk about where people are, get some additional coaching and the rest, but even just one-on-one. If you'd like to talk to me about how accessible it could be or what it means to you, let's just talk about it. You don't have to dive right in. Kevin, you talked a lot and inspired me too about saying yes, and about knowing that when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, the opportunities will arise and the right people will show up, and you'll have an opportunity to make an impact on their lives. That's my invitation, because that's what I want to have happen. And so anybody listening right now, or in the right now, reach out to me. Let's connect. Let's hear about what's going on in your life, and I'll talk to you about what's going on in mine, and we'll find out a way to make the world a better place together.
You know what's really cool about the current state of technology and the media is right now can be tomorrow.
Right.
It could be next week. It could be next month. And for them, that's today.
It's right now.
It's right now.
That's right. And that is the moment. It's the only moment we have. And so don't hesitate. If you're called, then great. Shoot me an email. Let's connect. Let's find a way.
And they can do all of that by going to davidallenbrown.com. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have been, number one, you're a restaurant guy, so I love you anyway. But you've been such a ray of sunshine for the show, and I want to thank you so much for being here.
Such a pleasure to be here. This will be my energy moving forward. We've connected, and therefore all is well. So thank you for having me.
Oh, and you're going to have to come back. So look at the schedule, ladies and gentlemen. And when he's scheduled back, you're going to have to come back and be with him, because he is remarkable. Again, go to davidallenbrown.com. And, I got to tell you, I got 30 seconds. And just real quick, when I was a host at a particular Denny's, and I was doing my thing, and there was a waitress that was standing next to me, and a guy walks up and he's going to pay. And he says, this Denny's has a different flavor to it. It's interesting. And the waitress pointed at me and goes, yeah, it's because of him. And that made me feel so good. And that's the impact that we can all have. Any day, anytime. David Allen Brown, go to his website, davidallenbrown.com. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin at